I have here in my hand a watch that represents Bovet's past, present and future all at once. Come discover the latest version of the Bovet 1822 Virtuoso VIII Chapter 2 here with us in Zermatt at the winter edition of WorldTempus on Tour. Hey WorldTempus family, it's our last day in Zermatt, but we're still going strong at the winter edition of WorldTempus on Tour. In fact, out of all the watches we've brought with us this week, we've saved the best for last. You might think that Bovet watches are all about classical designs, exuberant displays of artisanal flair, and intricate mechanisms. And you'd be totally right, but Bovet today stands for so much more than just that, and the piece I have with me right now will give you a glimpse of Bovet's next brand evolution. This is the Bovet 1822 Virtuoso VIII Chapter 2, and you'll notice immediately that there's a new, modern air to this piece. The round case with the slim bezel and the bow crown, all still there, but this time with a sleek, dark exterior. This is because of the diamond-like carbon coating, also known as DLC coating, which is a form of amorphous carbon with a very particular nanostructure, allowing it to exhibit some of the material properties of diamond, namely its hardness. Just for comparison, here is the previous model in white gold. Let me just check the hallmarks to make sure it's not platinum. Yep, white gold. And if you look at them side by side, it's easy to see that although they are essentially the same watch, the difference in case material has a real impact on how the watches come across. This DLC model is in titanium as well, and it feels distinctly lighter in the hand and definitely on the wrist. Lightness in a watch used to be seen as a mark of substandard quality, since prestigious watches used to have big movements and massive gold cases. So lightness was kind of viewed with suspicion if you were talking about horlogerie. Now, of course, that's definitely not a concern anymore, and lightness is actually seen as an advantage since modern lifestyles are highly active and require us to be on the move a lot. If I turn the watch to the side, you'll see that it has a cambered profile. The watch is actually angled ever so slightly towards you when it's on your wrist. Bovet calls this a writing slope because it's designed to be directly facing your line of sight when your arms are resting on a writing desk. Nowadays, of course, the term typing slope would be more accurate, but I think writing slope still conveys that sense of romanticism that accompanied a time when people actually wrote to each other, like with a pen on a sheet of paper. The writing slope also highlights the fact that the flying tourbillon, usually one of the thickest mechanisms in a watch movement, is built with height reduction in mind. For example, it's driven from the periphery instead of by a pinion. And I'm going to run through the rest of the points fairly quickly because the last thing I want to show you is actually the highlight of this piece, in my opinion. As you can see from the subdial on the left, this watch has a power reserve of 10 days, and it's from a single barrel, which is impressive for a watch of this height. Despite this, the watch it's just really easy to wind, and I would even go so far as to say that rewinding this 10-day mainspring barrel, which most people would think would be kind of a pain in the neck, is actually a tactile pleasure. It's because of the patented winding stamp here, which incorporates a spherical differential that reduces the number of turns needed to fully wind the watch. The rapid date corrector is also located in the crown via a pusher that really takes the hassle out of setting the date. The most common methods of correcting the date in a watch are either to pull the crown out and turn it to manually advance the date, or to use a corrector pin on a button set into the case, and then people always lose their corrector pins and then have to use a toothpick or something. Yeah, you can miss me with that. That's why none of my mechanical watches have a date indication. Okay, final point, and this is what I've been waiting to show you. You can see that these blue subdials have a textured matte finish on them. And I'm going to show you what that's all about by doing this. These dials are coated with super luminova, so they fluoresce in the dark. Of course, this is not the first Bovet watch to use super luminova, but it is the first one to use it to such an extent. The super luminova is aerosolized before being deposited on the dials. It's kind of like a spray paint kind of principle, but obviously a lot more controlled and even. We're told that this adds another level of difficulty for the watchmakers assembling this watch, as the super luminova coating isn't very robust, unfortunately, and they have to be really careful not to touch or mark the surface when they're mounting the dials. This is the blue version, but they also come in yellow, salmon, turquoise, green and violet, and each color is limited to 8 pieces only. So I did say earlier that this watch represents Bovet's past, present and future, so I want to circle back to that statement. I mean, we can clearly see how traditional watchmaking is the foundation of the Bovet 1822 Virtuoso VIII Chapter 2, and that this new aesthetic represents a very contemporary take on watchmaking at Bovet. I can also share with you that this direction will come to play a big role in future Bovet timepieces, whether it's new materials or surprising uses and reinterpretations of familiar mechanisms. We won't say any more about that, but thank you so much for joining us in Zermatt for the winter edition of WorldTempus on Tour with the Bovet 1822 Virtuoso VIII Chapter 2. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more content like this, and take care. We'll see you guys really soon.